The world you thought was eternal. Before everything breaks, there is an order. And that order, though harsh, is the only thing you know. You wake up before the sun rises. Your hands are calloused before you turn 20. This doesn't seem strange to you. Those are the hands of your mother, and your grandmother, and every woman you know. You live in a hut made of mud and straw. A single room, a hearth in the center, a roof that lets the wind through. You sleep on straw upon the earth. The Lord lives in the manor on the other side of the field. You have never crossed that door. He keeps a portion of everything you produce, of the wheat, of the vegetables, of your time. In exchange, he allows you to live on his land. It isn't justice. It is the only system that exists. Within that system, you find small certainties. The Thursday market, Sunday Mass, the priest who tells you that if you suffer here with patience, God will reward you afterward. You believe it because you need to believe it. That is your world. Fragile, harsh, small, but yours. You don't know yet that it is about to disappear forever. The first signs. The first warning arrives without anyone understanding it. A merchant, coming from the south, mentions, almost in passing, that in the ports of the Mediterranean, ships are arriving with dead crews. That in Messina, Sicily, the sailors have bodies covered in black lumps that ooze blood and pus. The authorities expel them from the port, but it is already too late. No one pays much attention. Merchants always exaggerate. But a week later, you find dead rats near the granary. Dozens, with bloated bellies and dark liquid around their mouths. Your husband buries them. It seems like an ill omen to him, but he doesn't know of what. Then a rumor spreads that in the northern village, 3 entire families died in less than 2 weeks. That those who assisted them also died afterward. Your neighbor Thomas, a large and healthy man, begins to complain of a fever. You see him at the market with eyes bright and red at the edges. He says it's just a cold. The following Sunday, Thomas is not at Mass. Neither is his wife. And this is when, for the first time, you feel something that isn't exactly fear, but isn't peace either. When no one understands anything. You go to see Thomas because his wife asks you to. You enter the hut, and the smell hits you before anything else. Spoiled meat, rancid sweat, something that should not come out of the body of a living person. Thomas has lumps on his neck and under his arm, the size of an egg, black at the edges, purple in the center. The skin around them is tight and shiny. These lumps will be called buboes, and they will give this disease its name, the bubonic plague. But you don't know that yet. You only know that you cannot get any closer. He looks at you and tries to speak. What comes out are not words. It is a wet sound mixed with blood. The doctors don't know what to do. They try bloodletting and herbal poultices. Nothing works. There are those who say the air is poisoned and aromatic herbs must be burned. There are those who blame the Jews, who supposedly poisoned the wells, and that unleashes something dark and terrible that you prefer not to see. In many cities in Europe, that lie is already costing innocent lives. The priest says it is a punishment from God. That one must pray more. Thomas dies on Tuesday, his wife on Thursday. And still, no one understands what is truly happening. The village begins to die. In the following weeks, time stops being measured in days. It is measured in deaths. First, the miller's family falls, then the blacksmith. Half of the Thursday market no longer appears. The empty stalls sit soaked by the rain and no one packs them away. You see a mother carrying her little daughter with her face covered. The girl does not move. You ask nothing. The smell of the village changes. It is no longer damp earth and cooking smoke. Now there is something sweet and heavy that follows you everywhere. It is the smell of the bodies that cannot be buried in time. What is happening in your village is not an exception. Across Europe, between the years 1347 and 1351, between 30 and 60% of the population will die. Some territories will lose even more. It is the greatest demographic catastrophe humanity has known up to that point. Your husband tells you not to go out except for what is necessary. You obey. But the fear enters anyway, through the same cracks where the wind enters. And one night, your eldest son wakes up with a fever. The plague enters your house. His name is Martin. He is 9 years old and has always been the strongest of your children. That first night, you think it's something else. You place wet cloths on his forehead. You stay by his side all night without sleeping. At dawn, the fever hasn't dropped. It rose, and when you check his neck, there is a lump. Still small. But there. You don't scream. You can't. The other children are sleeping 3 feet away, but something inside you breaks at that moment, silently, without making a sound. There is a moment, on the second day at noon, when Martin seems to improve. He recognizes you and tries to smile. You cling to that moment with all your strength, but that night the lumps turn black, and Martin stops recognizing you. He dies at dawn on the third day, with his head in your lap and his hand in yours. You bury him under the tree he always loved to climb, with a wooden cross that your husband hammers in silence. Your little daughter asks you when her brother is coming back. You don't know what to answer. No one is left. 2 weeks don't pass before your daughter also falls ill. This time you have no hope from the beginning. That is the most terrible thing. That you already know how it ends, and yet you do everything the same, because it is the only thing you can do. She dies faster than her brother, as if the evil already knew the way. 2 wooden crosses under the same tree. And one morning, your husband does not get up. You look at his neck, and you already know. This time you do not pray with the same desperation. Not because you don't love him, but because your faith has been struck so many times in such a short time that it no longer knows how to hold itself up. He dies 4 days later. In the village, there are no longer enough hands to bury the dead individually. They dig mass graves. Everyone goes in together. Parents with children. Neighbors with strangers. The priest gives one final collective blessing. And the following Sunday, the priest also falls ill. This is when you understand that there is no one coming to save you. The Lord also falls. For days you do not leave the hut. Not because you are sick, but because you have nowhere to go. Outside, the village makes no noise. A village always has sound. Children, animals, carts, voices. Now there is a silence that weighs like a stone. News reaches you that the feudal lord tried to lock himself in his manor and let no one in. It was of no use. The evil was already inside. He died in his bed, just like Thomas, just like your children. You cross the door of the manor for the first time in your life. There is no one to stop you. There is a table with half-eaten food, extinguished candlesticks. And in the main room, in a bed with linen sheets worth more than everything you own, the Lord lies dead with the same black lumps. You stand looking at him for a long moment. You feel no vengeance. You feel no relief. You feel that the world you were born into no longer exists. The plague did not distinguish between the man in the manor and the woman in the mud hut. That is an idea you had never had before, and once you have it, you cannot stop having it. The world without masters. You leave with a loaf of bread, cheese, and a wool blanket. No one pursues you. The roads are full of people doing the same as you. You see an entire village empty, with animals wandering loose and no living human being. You see flagellants, men who whip themselves with lashes as they walk, convinced that their own pain can calm the wrath of God. They sing while they strike themselves. They have the eyes of those who have no way back. You reach a larger city. The streets have corpses piled in the corners. The undertaker's carts pass again and again. But the city is still alive, and that, for now, is enough. Thriving among tombs. Months pass, then years. The plague comes and goes with minor outbreaks, but the worst moment passes, and the world that remains is unrecognizable. There is too much land and too few people to work it. The lords who survived desperately need hands, and for the first time in centuries, the hands have bargaining power. A landowner offers you work with a wage. You negotiate your pay. No one punishes you for doing so. In time, you manage to lease a small plot, but it is yours. The feudal system that existed for centuries begins to crack from within. The peasants who survived learned that they could move, negotiate, choose. The laws try to stop this. The lords try to reimpose the conditions of before. But the numbers don't add up for them. The church also changes, though slowly. It promised that faith would protect the good. And the good died, just like the wicked. You don't abandon your faith, but it is no longer the same blind faith as before. Now it coexists with questions that have no answer. You meet a man who also lost everything. You marry. You have children. From the outside, it looks like a story of recovery. From the inside, it feels different. The long shadow. You have more than you had before the plague. Land, a house with a tiled roof, children who eat every day. All of that is real. And yet, there is something that remains empty. Sometimes at the market, you see a 9-year-old boy running between the stalls and time stops for a second. That second lasts longer than it should. Then you return. You keep buying bread. No one notices anything. You grow old. That in itself is a rarity for someone of your time and condition. You have adult children, grandchildren, a plot of land that bears your name. But there are nights when you sit alone by the hearth and ask yourself the same old question. Why you? Why did you survive and not them? There was nothing special about you. You weren't better than Thomas. You weren't stronger than Martine. But they are gone, and you are here, with a life built upon that void. And you always reach the same conclusion. That perhaps the Black Death had no logic or justice or divine purpose. That it simply happened, that it destroyed everything it touched, and that some remained standing and others did not, for no reason that can ever be explained. And one must live with that. Not in peace necessarily, but standing. The hearth makes a small sound. Outside, one of your grandchildren stirs in their sleep. The world goes on. You do too.